sit out of the way.
All right, if everybody could stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
You were going this way and I was going this way. I was like, Kevin said she was so happy.
Did you want to read these or do you want me to just reconcile these?
No,
It's only 4.
excuse me, we are in session. If we could have quiet, thank you.
It's like you just have 4 payroll checks.
Yeah, so 4 payroll checks, $365.65 for Matt Bergeron, Charles Fitzgerald, $474.76, Maria Folsom, $55.41, Carrie Mason is $213.11.
Total payroll check register, $1,108.93.
I want to send this to fun fact. All right, Jason Gagnon, $263.68, Andrew Gray is $672.57, Kip Kaiser is $834.31, Thomas S. is $129.29, Joseph Bird is $1,110.43, John Bryant is $679.15, Abner Chaldnar is $182.15, Evan Crafts is $209.76, Keith Culligan is $589.70, Alyssa Sanuski is $550.99, Alexander Hall is $235.66, Julie Labonte is $1,041.71, Barry Levine is $339.84, Nathan Richards is $872.55, Katrina Tennant is $708.65, Trevor Whitby is $1,066.53, Gabriel Burgess Labonte is $120.05, Charlene Confaloni is $96.97. Eli Corson is $277.05. Edwin Decatur is $571.45. Jason Grant is $634.31. John Isabel is $109.67. George Calloway is $109.67. Erica Kenyon is $773.81. William Kenyon is $278.90. Peter King is $78.50. Hannah Leonard is $227.84. Connor McCollum is $354.62. Aaron Mitchell is $592.38. Benjamin Roche is $516.23. Jillian Benedicts is $609.69. Karen Clements $1,326.18. Heather Haggett is $359.37. Tamara Peak is $797.98. Daphne Wass is $843.96. Katie Coppola is $224.02. Shayla Gherkin is $92.90. Mary Lyons Hall is $220.08. Janice Weirs is $838.28. Kiki Donis Wall $729.65. Acadia Smith is $27.70. Marley Beltry is $55.41. Joyce Kegel is $587.45. Katie Blazik Ahern is $755.50. Jeffrey Collins is $824.70. Wayne Robinson is $1,056.84. Kendra Brackett is $581.29. Justin Doty is $1,175.09. Robert Gagnon is $244.10. Matthew Kelly is $852.16. Kevin Nealand is $965.95. Robert McCon is $450.90. Justin Moran is $1,174.90. James Saltzman is $1,099.03. Christopher Spoderary is $1,160.94. Josh Turner is $287.92. John Ventura is $1,499.50. Jeremy Worcester is $587.36. Jared Wright Ward is $1,401.66.
Total direct deposit, $35,058.93.
Combined total of $36,167.86. We had 31 hours of overtime in the police department, 15 hours in the fire department, and 2 hours in the highway department. Missed one. There's a bill.
Which list that
That should
starts?
be on the bottom.
AAA police supply is $664. Ben's uniforms is $1,035 even. Business management systems, $8,578.50. Boundtree Medical is $556.59. Kendra Brackett is $58.30. Center for Occupational Health is $50 even. Chapel Tractor is $36.51. Comcast is $267.
Yeah, we got stuff.
Okay.
Go ahead back to Chapel.
Chapel is $36.51.
Hold on. It was just a matter of,
Looks like there's two invoices.
stuck together. But yes,
Here's
the long story short, yes.
$267 for Comcast.
Yes, sir.
E&J Auto Parts, $209.68.
Okay.
Epping Car Wash is $144.
That's
Eversource is $1,305.02.
checking
Exeter Hospital, $76.74.
now.
Frank's Repair is $411 even. Teresa Frank is $60 even. Joyce Gallant is $80 even. Hartman Oil and Propane is $1,694.81. LCB Transport Inc. is $255 even. Medical Business Services is $1,076.71. Monarch Electrical Services is $210 even. Treasurer State of New Hampshire is $155 even. Pavement Protector is $5,000 even. R&G Toombs Door Company is $350 even. Seacoast Security is $168 even. Security Team is $255 even. State of New Hampshire Department of Safety is $25 even. Union Flag Company is $378 even. UniFirst Corp is $63.40. Valak is $211.45. WB Mason is $88.78. Jeremy Worcester is $20.66. Daphne Ross is $48.98.
Total checks, 23,533.13.
All right. I know, right?
Makes it difficult to know the end.
Thank you, Joyce.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Taking a motion on the consent agenda.
Motion.
Second?
Motion and second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Do you have any prepared documents?
Just the air purifiers and the.
Did you see the one in the consent agenda that you needed to sign, Andy?
The,
That was in the body
Amendment?
of the consent. No, there was another one.
There's two yellow
Yeah, there's
ones.
the
Needed here.
yep,
Line of credit.
Yep, good.
so Chief Bird was in here about hiring. He's found the final position that we're missing. He's pending background and training. The fire department will be fully staffed. Anything else?
Are you guys gonna have a meeting next week for the election, or sign the manifest, posted meeting, or what would you like to do?
What do you guys usually do when it falls
We
on
usually have a
election
meeting
day?
in the basement, right?
We have a meeting in the basement at 4.
Yeah.
So you
I
can-
mean,
Can you make a 4 o'clock?
yeah, I mean, if the option is signing the manifest, and, that seems to me like it might be a little more efficient, yeah.
I can do either, because I'll be there.
Either way,
And we'll by definition have a quorum, even if you can't be there, because we have to have a quorum for the election.
and usually we don't put anything on the agenda, it's just in case anything has to be discussed, we post a meeting, and if nothing else, we just sign the manifest.
Okay, sounds good.
To post it for 4?
Yeah.
Yes.
In your packet, I'm killing time because Chief Ventura is next on the list and he's walking up. But in your packet is stuff about the air purifiers.
Yeah.
Turn this over to Karen.
So Kip has researched what is needed based on square footage for town office, PD, and for the library. What he recommends is an MA 40 unit, which covers 800 square feet every half an hour. The MA 40 goes up to 1,600 square feet, and then it requires a filter HEPA 13 every quarter to be changed. So the total cost for the town office would be $1,410. That would include 1 year's worth of filters. For the PD, he would recommend 2 MA 40s, which would be a total of $940. And then for the library, he would recommend 2 of the larger units, which goes up to 5,000 square feet. So 2 of the larger units for the upstairs and then a smaller unit for the basement. And that would be a total cost of $1,910.
The air purifiers. All the way in the back.
Those numbers seem off, Karen.
I thought
It's
it, which numbers?
It says the MAs are 590 each.
So that's for the 112. So that's for the 2
Oh,
larger ones
yep.
for the library. And then the
So it'd
MA
be around
40s are,
$1,200 plus a couple hundred for filters. So how does it come out to 1,900?
so for the library did 590 times 2 plus 270. So 590 times 2 for the 2 large ones and then
Okay.
a small one for the basement. So
Oh,
that's-
small one for the basement, that's what I was
Yeah,
missing.
so that's
Gotcha.
$1,450. And then $65 is the filter for the larger, so 4 of those.
Gotcha. I just missed the basement one.
Oh, actually, you want to do, because they're getting 2 of those.
And
So
the
65
fire department's all
times
set,
4
right?
Times,
Because
yes.
they've got 2 of the MA 40s.
That's what the fire department uses, the med air.
Yep.
Are you familiar with the med air? Because I know, I think it's,
I mean, I think they're all good, as long as it's got the right particle size, which it looks like these should. It's got the HEPA, the updated HEPA filters, which is what was recommended during COVID. So I think this should be good, and it's what the, fire department's already been using. I think it's the exact same unit that Kip is recommending.
Has anyone talked about Energy Star ratings and discounts associated?
It's a good question.
no,
So there is a program through Energy Saves, where there are steep discounts offered on certain models of Energy Star appliances, and air purifiers are definitely among them.
even for municipalities.
I don't know.
I just knew when we did the solar stuff, the municipality wasn't eligible, that's why we get a discount.
This is through the utilities? Is that
Yes.
where-
Or the combined, yeah.
So we looked into that previously and we weren't.
No, we haven't. I'm just saying, when we did solar, the energy
We
rebates,
didn't qualify.
We didn't qualify for
because
it.
of, but we can.
Maybe
Right.
worth checking if we could save money.
I think it would save us, just looking at the numbers, it would probably save us a few $100, but
Doesn't say anything on this product description about like Energy Star or anything.
yeah, I was looking for Energy Star certifications.
Yeah, I
didn't
don't
see.
see it listed.
But this is from 2022, so.
So we've gone this long, we can wait.
We can ask, yeah.
It looks like for towns and for businesses, it's heating and air conditioning, lighting, electric equipment, natural gas equipment, appliances, water heaters. Doesn't list out.
Maybe consider.
Maybe it would be an appliance, yeah. We might as well just ask.
The only reason it hit my head was I got an email from the co-op this past week about air purifiers and Energy Star. That was the only reason why that popped into my head.
Hey, money's money.
Right,
Save
let's
some money,
ask.
I take it.
Right.
Do we have a question?
Yes. I feel like in Orphan, has anyone looked at the Historical Society? We sometimes have 25 to 30 people there for you for an event. And they're elderly, it's very dusty.
We did talk about doing all town buildings.
Yep.
I'm not sure how.
So these ones would be, I think the intention was to plan these out of impact fees, so how would you want to pay for the ones out of the Grange, out of the capital reserve fund?
We'll see how much they need, what they need, and then once we have a price.
Do you know the rough square footage?
I could email that to you. It's probably, the building's probably 30 wide by 40 or 50
You'd
deep.
need a couple, because you've got the two
Yeah,
floors.
Yeah, and we've got a wing, so, but we have a map, we have a diagram.
That's a great idea.
We
And
can
we
get
can't
it
use
up.
impact fees for,
They don't
They don't
have a
have
separate
impact
account.
because they don't have them, okay. That was the intention initially, was all town buildings. I think it was just because of the fee structure, it didn't get on this list.
Was Chief here or not?
Yes, he was downstairs.
You look out the window for him.
Is he down there?
Wait, Bob. Come on up.
You're the next contestant on The Price is Right. Get up here.
Do you like our intercom system?
Yeah.
It works. The day officer knows now is here's my window open, they just look up.
So we're gonna table this until,
Yeah, we'll look at this real quick next week.
It sounds like about what we were anticipating for cost, so, but if we can save money.
do you want me to jump into the postal thing real quick?
How long is the postal thing?
5 minutes?
Go for
Like
it.
that?
Yeah.
So, people aren't getting their mail. I just got today's mail, it's for Tuesday last week. So my mail that came today is actually Tuesday's last week, so I had to go to the post office because my daughter's studying abroad this year and her credit card hadn't shown up yet, so I had to get that so I can make sure she had a credit card to go away. And I went down to the post office and they said that they're working 6 days a week and they're extremely short-staffed. And so I took their little thing because they're hiring like crazy. So if anybody's looking for a job, I highly recommend that they go to USPS.com/careers because it's anywhere from on this it's 18.92 an hour all the way up to 27.52 an hour. So highly recommend because they just don't have the staff. And like I said, they're delivering right now for trucks. So I don't know as a town if we should be sending something over to the post office asking for what's going on, but I know according to people over there, they're extremely short-staffed. So I did request Janice to post this up at the library, and Karen, I know, had posted it here too. So I'm not sure if we can get something on the website, but from what I understand, they're extremely understaffed. And it's probably gonna get worse because if they're now a week behind, people take vacations, life starts to stink. You aren't gonna get your mail on time unless you go pick it up. You can always go down to the post office and pick it up too, because that's what I did in order for my daughter to have a credit card when she went overseas. So that's all I got.
And I know they have a program that you can ask to get a scan of all your mail, so at least you know what.
That's why I knew it's supposed to show up. Like today, I use fly predators for the horses, so I don't get flies all over the place. And they usually come the last week of the month, and they came today, but it's not last week. So those eggs, I don't know how long they're gonna be good for. So, we'll see.
Energy Star rebates residential only. It's $55 benefit,
Oh, so there you go.
but it's residential.
You were on a different plan,
It's, all the utilities are
on the same
on
one.
the same offering.
We'll just wait to see what
And adding the
historical needs, and then we'll do,
Do it all together.
yeah.
Perfect.
Hey, Chief Tour is here to talk about the K-9 programming and body cameras.
Grant.
Yeah. Start with the K-9 program. So if you remember, several weeks ago, I came to you folks for approval to start raising funds for the program. And I had mentioned that we were not gonna start raising funds until at least National Night Out or after that. Officer Kelly was at National Night Out. He was the only one left after National Night Out. We had an incident that night. To explain the K-9 program to those folks that appeared at that. And then since then, he has literally been pounding the pavement and doing extremely well. I had indicated to you folks that we needed $20,000 to start the program. and that I would be looking, at least during budget season, for only a budget of $2,500 a year. I mentioned that I had started one in Wakefield, very similar, same handler, same everything. And our budget was well within budget for that $2,500 a year, but it was the startup cost. He has raised the $20,000 already for the program.
Wow, nice work. That was quick.
He's done a terrific job, I will tell you.
Yeah.
He's done a terrific job. Officer Kelly's very plugged into the community as it is, so it was very easy for him to approach businesses. We had residents that donated as well. It was really an outpouring of support. We intend to keep that donation open. It's through the Police Association. In these programs, sometimes there are small incidentals that come up, maybe a new digital collar, GPS collar, something like that. So we're going to still keep that open. But what I do need is your approval to actually start the program now. I can't imagine $2,500 in the 2023 budget will be a deal breaker for the budget committee and you folks. So the reason I asked for this approval now is because we need to start ordering the parts to outfit the cruiser. Otherwise, it's going to take well into where we need to actually have the dog to get the cruiser ready. I know that the town has got some previous experience with the canine program. And some of that might not have been delivered as promised. I can tell you that what we say will be delivered. The training is 7 weeks. Officer Kelly's salary is already budgeted for will be budgeted, we're not letting him go, so it will be budgeted for 2023. The only thing that might do is limit a little bit of the double coverage that I strive for, and the sergeant and I will start picking up some of that slack, at the beginning of a shift, maybe at the end of a shift. So the town won't see an impact for the training. The training for him is only 15 minutes from his house. It's a little further north from here. He would have a take-home cruiser anyway for the dog. As I mentioned before, the dog's already been born, the dog's already been named. We just need your approval to get the program right.
And so, and he's gonna sign a 5-year
Yes,
agreement.
that I know that was a big selling point, and he's gladly agreed to that. And that is part of the retention program that I really strive to get here in Brentwood too. Well, not just the canine, but other things that we offer. This is just one of the beginning programs that I want, to help keep good people like Officer Kelly here.
Can you just also explain to the board, after the 7 weeks, how much time you have to give Officer Kelly a month and every day for feeding and training and ongoing training?
Yes, the industry average for that is 4 hours per week. It's a half hour per day for the care of the dog at home, because he will care for the dog at home. We've already discussed living conditions. He has adequate provisions for the dog. The dog will not be outside in the doghouse in the freezing cold in the winter. So what will happen is normally we work, at least for the time being, on a 4 10-hour schedule. So he would actually just be scheduled for 4 9-hour patrol hours. So the 4 other hours would be for the allotment for the at-home care of the dog. And the training, Maddie, can you help me on the training per
Yeah,
month?
training, so for just narcotics only through the USPCA, I only need 8 hours per month. So that would be the only training that I have to do on a monthly basis is 8 hours.
And our department already has a very healthy training line allotted. If you have looked at any of our year-to-date numbers, which I have, we haven't really touched a lot of our training. Some of that will be eaten up on some other ideas I have for the ongoing police training we need per the academy standards, but we certainly have it already in our training budget, so I wouldn't be asking for additional monies for that line either.
Do you have to travel for the training, Matt?
So the trainer that we're going to use, he moves to locations all the time. I actually went a couple of weeks ago to Hampstead. So they'll go to like tow yards, they go to woods, they'll go to buildings, actually even track in Manchester in the cities. He always changes it. It's all in New Hampshire, but it's never the same location. So I will have to travel for it, but not outside of New Hampshire. Nothing crazy. They don't go up to like the tip of Pittsburgh or anything like that.
And if he does, you guys are invited.
Field trip.
In case you want to go snowmobiling or fishing or something.
And Karen, I think you had said previously that when we had a canine program, the budget was very similar
Yes.
to what the chief is requesting, right?
Yes.
And just to be clear for the folks in the audience that don't know what we're getting, it's a black lab. So it's not a bite dog, it's not a patrol dog. This dog will be for narcotics and search and rescue, and ultimately, hopefully, down the line, will be also cross-trained for bomb detection. We do have the racetrack, so that's obviously a target that attracts a lot of people, and in today's world, you gotta be cautious about stuff like that, so. And this is a dog you can pretty much be comfortable about bringing into school, and rather than nipping at a kid, trying to like a kid's face, so, very big community policing, thing for our community, which we're really looking for.
Do you have the dog now?
We don't have the dog physically, but Maggie has been born. Maggie is named and everything, and she's ready to go. If the program goes through tonight, Maggie would likely come to Officer Kelly sometime around the December.
March.
Was it been pushed to March? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so pushed out, but if available earlier, we will take the dog earlier.
And it'll go directly to Officer Kelly?
Yes.
And she'll sit in your lap?
She will.
They're known for that.
Yeah.
I did offer to buy rec specs, though. Need to get the goggles for the dog.
Has anybody signed on to donate veterinarian services and food?
That's the one thing that we haven't approached any of the vets yet, and we have obviously a plethora of vets here. But again, from my experience, that 2,500 budget that I had covered vet expenses. So even if we don't get that donated, that will be within the budgetary constraints that we
That
have.
also cover the insurance for puppy care?
That covered everything for us, yes.
Because I just want to make sure that you guys are buying an insurance plan on a puppy in case something medically comes up.
Of course.
Coming
Yeah.
from the insurance
Yeah, I
guy.
mean, this is an investment for the town. This isn't, well, if you buy a puppy these days from a breeder, they're pretty expensive too.
What I'm getting at, Bob, is usually a vet service will donate their,
Service, just like Mitchell, I think. did that.
Mitchell did for us, I think, before,
Yeah.
was my
you
understanding.
know, so Fremont Animal Hospital, Brentwood Animal Hospital,
Cornerstone.
one of those may,
We have so many around here. to pick.
Tractor Supply may offer to donate food. It's,
Yeah, they do, yeah. The Tractor Supply is very good with canine programs.
Tractor Supply is also getting a doggy bath station for anyone who didn't know. They've offered to donate those services as well.
Oh, there you go.
Good, so when I get hit with a skunk again, I know where to go. I got 4.
so would anybody like to make a motion to
I'll make a
proceed?
Quick question,
Sure, yeah.
sorry,
No worries.
Name and address.
$2,500 a year for annual maintenance for the dog?
Can we get his name?
That
Yeah,
was, yes.
once he gets.
So is a lot of the other stuff gonna come out of Officer Kelly's pocket?
Other stuff meaning, just to sort of clarify, so I know what you're talking about.
I used to do taxes.
Sure.
I'm kind of retired. I used to do a lot of canine police,
Yep.
state police typically.
Sure.
They had to pay for the stuff out of their pocket, and then they would deduct it on their tax returns until January 1, 2018. But,
We cover that.
okay, because I mean, they would run $10,000, $12,000, $14,000 a year.
Yeah, not for the program
Expenses.
that I've run, no.
Okay.
And I say that because I do have I started one in Wakefield in 2018, so I have
Okay.
recent numbers anyway.
All right.
And we do rely on a lot of donations, and we had a pet supply and a Tractor Supply donate food on there. You know, that, it wouldn't last the whole year, but nonetheless, we took in donations for that and we covered it pretty well.
Okay.
Sir, just for the minutes, name and road you live on?
Jim Wiseman, down on Block Drive.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions from the audience?
Motion.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second?
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much for that. That means a lot,
Good work.
folks.
Good work on
that's a big step for
fundraising,
us.
that's impressive. Good job, Matt.
You did that in
That
like,
was
what, a month?
A little bit less than
Yeah.
that.
That's awesome. 20 grand in a month.
How much you get in the trunk of the car at National Night Out?
Well, after I went in the dunk tank, I wish I put my trunk back up, but everyone that was in me, I was gonna ask for donations.
Did you count it out?
I believe we had $62 from National Night Out, but I didn't interact with many people as I wish I did.
National Night Out was just so, for those who might have been there and expecting to see a lot of police, we had a critical incident that night that all of us had to respond to. And Officer Kelly got stuck there. I was supposed to be in the dunk tank. But after seeing how well he did,
Next year.
so, So he stepped up and stayed back when, you know, and this type of incident was an incident where everybody was rushing to the incident, and there's, you know, and it's what you train for, and it's certainly something that Matty would have at least enjoyed partaking in. He stayed back to kind of, you know, hold the story at national level, so we were appreciative of that too. And he had to go to the dog tank on top of it.
And then he had to respond even wet.
Yeah, then he responded in West, yeah.
And then I got to see what happens when you wear black clothes into fresh
That's
water.
right.
It turns very murky.
All right, chief,
Thanks, chief.
body cameras.
Body cameras, so, I think I mentioned previously, I was able to apply for and receive a grant for body cameras, which also covers in-car cruiser cameras. The awards varied throughout the state, depending upon the size of the department and the needs. Anywhere from, some got 10,000, some got all the way up to 100,000 for some of the larger agencies. We were able to get a half match of $35,000, which means I will get up to $35,000 as a half match. So if we spent 70 on the program, we'd get half of that back. I am a firm believer in the body camera system. It serves well to protect the public and the officers involved. And I've already started getting bids from different suppliers. We've got a pilot program coming in that I think we used in the past, but nothing was ever followed up with Access. They're gonna give us some cameras for 30 days. There's another company that the sergeant is working with. So we're getting on board with this. I just need your approval to accept the grant as written so that we can submit the appropriate paperwork so that our $35,000 is guaranteed. And we have up to 5 years to use
So
that.
it's 50 cents on the dollar, up to $35,000 match.
Correct, yep.
And so what is a total anticipated cost of a fully run, a program that's
Yep.
up to speed?
Okay, I will tell you, I've spoken to the Cadillac of body cams, which is a company called Body Worn. And their quote for everything that I would want, and there are certainly areas where we cut, is $86,000. So, and that's come down quite a bit. I got a quote from them a few years back for Wakefield, and it was $110,000 for less. So their costs are coming down. But that would be the outside top quote that I would get, is $86,000.
If that's the Cadillac, what's the
Honda.
Toyota?
Kia, Sorento.
I would say probably in the range of 50 or 60,
Okay.
in that vicinity. But don't quote me on that, because I haven't gotten their quotes in.
I just quoted you on it.
Yep, just based on industry standards, I know that that's about the range for a lot of them right now.
Do we have a current budget line item that this would go under for PD?
Do not, but it would qualify under impact fees if you wanted to use that account.
How much do we have in impact dollars?
A lot.
A lot? That
That's,
sounds like a good
that's
deal.
really where I would be looking to pull
Yeah.
the funds from. And we would, just so you know, the way that works is that we would have to pay for it up front and then get that match back. And that would be,
You'd have to like submit your
that'd be
receipts
submitted,
or.
yeah, then that would be all submitted appropriately.
There was also, the previous chief was supposed to have done some fundraising for that. Do you know if there's a
There's about,
accountability of that money?
$4,500 or something like that?
In that big
How
account.
much?
Only about $4,000.
Okay.
That was specific fundraising for body cameras?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, if we put Matty on it, we could probably buy a body worn company on our own in about a month and a half, so.
I'll make a motion to accept the grant.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
We already signed it, so just need the big minutes for it.
Okay.
Can we do that last item, Karen, about the
The
pups?
update on the pups.
No money.
No, I'm actually, no, I'm not asking for any money. No, I came to you folks and you graciously gave me money, not long ago, when we talked about the puck system that we use for the connectivity. And Officer Spitaler did a great amount of work on that, only to come to find out when we actually went to order, they rescinded some of the rebates. So it was kind of like negotiations started all over again. And the price, each time we've spoken to them, has crept up and up and up. And that price has gone up to upwards of about $8,000 or $9,000 now, from the $5,000 that you guys gave us before. So we're not going to use that system. I've also been, and Chris has been looking a lot, and you might be able to speak to some of this about where Rockingham is going with their CAD program. You're familiar, right? So,
Chief, wasn't that puck system like a temporary Band-Aid until we transition the cruisers over to the?
it is, and
Type?
and you may know more about the timing on that, but my understanding is it's within the next 12 to 24 months that that's gonna take place. In which case, this system with AT&T that we were thinking about purchasing for 5,000 would be obsolete because we'd have to get new laptops for the cruisers anyway. So we may just use the Band-Aid of the pucks for the next 24 months, to the tune of about $1,500 a year, if we have to replace them, is what our average was. And then, and I'm gonna start planning through CIP and everything for that changeover, whatever Rockingham goes through. So I just want to keep you, because I convinced you it was a great idea about a month ago, and now I'm telling you we're not doing it. I just thought I'd let you know why.
Now, if they're changing to a different system, is there gonna be maybe grants out there that you can apply for those? Or?
That's what I'm hoping for. I've got to get more in tune to what, because I don't know that they've chosen a carrier. Yeah. So I've got to get more in tune for that, because there are a lot of ways to draw from that, you know, and if these can be used for any other purpose in terms of the equipment that's necessary or anything, maybe towards emergency management, anything, I will get grants for that. So I just need to get more in tune with that, but I will, I always search for grants for stuff.
Okay.
But just want to give you that.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, folks. See, I didn't even ask for any money.
I know.
I like
Good
that.
job.
You actually saved $5,000.
How do you like those apples? Thanks, folks. Have a good night. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Chief.
See ya.
Hey, Matt.
We came for you.
Russ?
Yeah, so, last time we met, talked about introducing, standing up a new committee, Energy and Environment Committee. And in the packet here, it would actually be called the Energy and Environment Advisory Committee, if that's acceptable. And that gives it a little, you know, it's a little more specific to what we're looking for, which is, you know, research and advice to the select board on issues related to both of those. So, first of all, I wanted to say too, the electricity prices, as we know, went up, as we've talked about a few times, went way up this past month. And people are starting to see those bills. We had the electricity costs discussion over at the library last Monday. It was well attended, good feedback, and sort of leads into this, which is, you know, there are a few things out there that I think it would help to have a committee, you know, that is regularly following these issues and, you know, letting us know what we might do to alleviate some of these burdens on the residents. And there's been a few things, like in the packet there, you'll see the New Hampshire PUC approving the community power rules. And then right after that, you'll see this Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire, which is currently, 20 towns are currently involved in that. The whole idea being that, you know, there's strength in numbers to try to shop around and understand potential programs or, you know, like, you know, when I was over in Fremont recently, they were talking about, you know, just offhandedly sort of talking about the solar array, and kind of looking at what the town of Brentwood did and how that's working out for us. And I think information sharing and maybe joining together on programs that can reduce costs is the idea. The other component of that is some residents have been wanting to look into some kind of a composting program to try and reduce the amount of waste, and obviously has other benefits besides reducing waste, but potentially there's cost savings involved in that related to our waste management budget. So again, the idea would be to bring together folks with a variety of backgrounds, but ideally some folks with subject matter expertise. I'm assuming I need a little bit of help with just how, we stand these up. We've only stood up one committee since I've been on the board, but, so I wasn't terribly formal here, but I'm assuming something in the neighborhood of 7 members. And I'm just throwing that out there. And then to have, maybe a member of the board that is a non-voting member, and then maybe 2, 3 alternates. But that's the gist of it.
And sorry, quick question. At the library session, Dawn from the, advisory group had talked, had sort of proposed to the select board that we really take on this question of the Community Power Coalition.
Mm-hmm.
Is your thought that this advisory committee would sort of delve deep into that and make a recommendation to this board about whether Brentwood should think of proposing a warrant article to join a power coalition like that?
Yeah,
Sort
thanks.
of putting that off onto a subcommittee?
Yeah, thanks. I sort of jumped over that. Dawn Crease, who's the consumer advocate for New Hampshire.
John or Dawn?
Dawn, D-O-N.
Was one of the 3 panelists, and he was excited to hear that we were at least in initial discussions about forming a committee. And one of the things is if there was support eventually for this Community Power Coalition, it's something that would have to go before the town. So again, that's jumping ahead, but the point being that we don't have the bandwidth to be doing all the research that needs to be done for the pros and cons. But this committee could jump on that, hopefully quickly, and give us some guidance.
And just for the benefit of the public or anybody who wasn't at that meeting, so the community, the New Hampshire Community Power Coalition, and you can find information online. Currently, there's 20 cities and towns in New Hampshire that have grouped together basically to just get economy of scale, to be a bigger customer, to try to negotiate better power rates. And so there's multiple towns in our area, including Exeter, Rye, Dover, Newmarket, Durham, Portsmouth, and some even as far, Hanover. And so the thought is that there's been some recent regulatory changes, and I think there was an upcoming vote this month maybe that was gonna sort of give the final approval for something like this to move ahead. So really just trying to get a bigger market force basically to try to drive prices down by competition. So something that, we don't know all the pros and cons of, but a lot of these other towns have already gone that direction. So I think it's a great use of a committee who can actually really tell us like what are the potential drawbacks of doing this versus the benefits.
And I know you had some recommendations for potential volunteers. I think it's kind of premature to kind of throw some names out there at this point. I would like to see if you're going to go forward with a committee like this, that we posted up that we're looking for volunteers, and you do like a 30 days or even 60 days out. Like can people come forward to volunteer for this, so you can get a pool of people, and then it's a matter of kind of like what we did with the communications. And then we kind of have a mix of community people. I know one of the persons that's on here is our solar advisory with Revision Energy. I know if we're looking at energy, we're going to be looking at revision, so that might be a conflict. I would look at it as a conflict. They're a salesperson over there, so to me that would be kind of like, that's a conflict of interest to me. So I would have a problem with that right off the bat. And then really kind of just getting a mix, and I would love to incorporate Rob Wolfchuck, who's hiding behind Liz over there. He's dodging his head, because he helped a lot with the solar that we had over at the fire station, and he is the last person I think that was around from that era of doing that. So
in that vein, and agreeing with Bob a little bit, when we did the Economic Development Committee, I sat down with someone who has far more development experience than I did, and he, you know, I said, hey, if I wanted to do this, a committee in town to focus on these issues, what would I, you know, give me a vision
What do I
for how
need?
I would put this together. And he said, okay, you need an attorney, you need a PR person, you need a data person, you need a real estate person, and you need someone with like engineering experience, like civil engineering experience probably would help too. And that's when we went out to the town, we put out the, hey, and can anyone raise their hands like you're
What do we do,
suggesting?
30 days? I can't remember how much time.
I don't remember that part. I don't, it was either a couple weeks or 30 days or something like that. And,
We could probably do like 2 weeks after the next newsletter hits the,
When's the next
everybody's
newsletter
home.
come out?
That would be till
Not
mid-October.
October?
October.
Yeah, so 2 weeks after mid-October, so you say November 1st.
the
Do you know
town
when
really
you-
stepped up though, and
Yeah.
we got great volunteers.
I know there's some other towns that have already a net energy committee. We might be able to sort of pick their brains in terms of
What are the
what skill set
qualifications?
they looked for when they built their
Yeah,
group.
so, just circling back to what Bob was saying, so the idea was, so there's, 5 people who basically have been, talking amongst themselves and who recommended that this go, become a thing. And so, but, that's 5 names, is it a 7-person board, is it 10? Are these the right people? I just kind of figured that that's what this discussion would be about, that's why, they're recommended, and then we'll see what happens, but the only other committee, like I said, was that communications committee, and I knew then that what we did was we ended up allowing some time for folks to chime in if they
Yeah, it
wanted
was
to be
posted on
part of
the
it,
town
so,
website.
yeah, so that's all to the good.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to, and Rob is gonna keep dodging back there, I know. I'd love to see if Rob would be willing to do that, cause I know he was a major,
Yeah, no, I mean,
major heart of
nobody's
the
arguing
solar
with you.
array, so. No,
I
and
don't think anyone's arguing with you.
and I think you do need
So-
to have somebody kind of
We'll
help
get-
spearhead.
Rob's not hiding,
Process.
he's just looking.
I think there's a way to spearhead getting that interest,
Yeah.
and I would love to maybe pick his brain on how he got that interest for the solar array, cause
100%.
that had to be a huge presentation that he had to do at the town meeting, and I would assume that anything we do is gonna have to be very similar. Like the Warren article, you're gonna have to have somebody speak to it,
Right.
and he's a good one for that, so.
I think it's a
All
great
right.
idea to have the committee, and I think that educational meeting we had was so helpful because there's just a lack of awareness. Like, I don't think many people in town know that they can shop around and pick their own energy supplier today. And I think that's my understanding, it's part of why you wanted this advisory committee, was not just to advise us, but to advise the town.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, did you know that you can do
Yeah.
this, and this today to
Yeah.
lower your bills?
Well, and even
I
put
think
something
that
on the website, I guess working
Absolutely.
with the communication committee.
Absolutely, to get it
Yeah,
out to
yeah.
the public about,
Yeah, there's a lot of positive
Just
things
say
that can
maybe
be,
you can have some questions.
Yeah.
there's a lot of positive things that can be done, including educating the residents on that kind of stuff. And by the way, I was remiss in just thanking Janice and the library staff for hosting that event, by the way.
Question?
and anybody on the board have any more discussion than over the audience?
No, I mean, I think if we're gonna move forward, I'd like to have, the time to research what we need to do and then kind of formulate who the volunteers might be. Or prematurely putting out names, I
Yeah,
guess.
these are just people who are gonna probably throw their hat in the ring.
Yep, definitely.
So just a reminder, name and street address.
Actually, you go right ahead first.
Liz, he's giving
You
me.
have your hand up first, go ahead.
Liz McConnell, Stevens Drive. Yes, Rob Wolfchuck would be an awesome addition to that. And
He's shaking his head.
Like, stop.
I think the reason behind the other person that was on that was because they were involved in the solar business, and having been to the last meeting where Rob took on, helped explain to the board and to the audience what was actually going on with the solar panels, that it had the person that I think is recommended had nothing to do with a sales feature or anything like that. It more had to do with helping other people to understand how solar was really put together and what it was doing for our town. So that was really what the intention was for that. But if Mr. Wolfchuk would step up, that would, I think that would take care of a lot of questions that people might have, and it would be explained in a layperson's terms, so people could understand.
And just, I'm just gonna put this out there, that's your daughter, correct? That you're
Yes.
speaking of?
Yeah.
Sir?
Mark Young, 47 Fells Road. Jen, you mentioned that people in the state already have the ability to shop
Correct.
around. So, a couple questions. So the co-op, this buying group, who would they be buying for? Are they buying just for the towns, for our facilities?
Right.
Or is it something else for individual residents?
My understanding of the way it was explained, and Russ, you can correct me if you understand it differently, is essentially it would just be a buying group that would buy off the market, kind of like Eversource buys off the market. But instead of, like, right now, you can go on the website and you can pick Direct Energy or, Joe's Energy or whatever. But you're an individual consumer with so many kilowatt hours that is not a very impressive customer to them. Whereas if we were to say, well, these 21 towns are going to pool together and buy all of our kilowatt hours, we can probably negotiate a better rate. My understanding was there was an opt-out option. So if a customer who lived in one of those towns was not interested in being part of the community network, they could opt out and do their own power the way it's done now. I believe that's how it was explained at that meeting, Russ, am I
Yeah, no, good
speaking
job.
correctly?
So this would be like another vendor?
Yeah, the website, I'm just gonna give it to you.
It's like we would become a customer as this conglomerate, basically, to just allow us better bargaining power on the competitive market.
And my last question is, with this subcommittee, is it going to require a line item or a budget?
Not that I would
doubt
envision.
it, because it's advisory, it's meant to be advisory.
Just so, if you wanna do some of the research on it, the website is cpcnh.org/about.
Yep.
So that's for that.
Community Power Coalition in
Yeah,
New Hampshire.
And I would just say, feel free to ask any other questions, but that is the point of the committee, one of the missions that the committee. 'Cause I don't know, frankly, I don't know where I'm at on the coalition. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
we
don't know
have to
enough.
find out the pros and
I don't know
cons. I
enough.
mean,
So,
the
but I ca-
idea is that the market is supposed to help restrain prices, but it hasn't done a great job of that in New Hampshire. So this is one thought of how to push the market a little bit more to get more leverage for our consumers here in Brentwood.
Thank you.
And that website will be in the minutes, so if anybody didn't have a pen handy, they can refer to that. Was there another question?
Russ, you mentioned
Becky Denham.
Rebecca Dunham, 9 Block Drive. You mentioned mission, and I would like to know if the board would first draft the mission and the parameters of this committee's responsibilities, because committee work can wander off into other areas. And I think if we're going to attract people who have skills and real interest in helping the community, we need to let them know exactly what their guidelines are. You don't want people going off the reservation or getting into areas that isn't the purview of the board. So I think a mission, before you do a community meeting, I think a community meeting is necessary as well. Because look at all of us, we're learning tonight. So I think there needs to be time to educate the community whether a committee is valuable and what the committee's role will be in town.
Do you think it would be
And
its
I-
purpose?
Well,
Purpose.
Yeah, and I think,
Defining purpose.
and I think that was the idea of checking with other towns that have committees and see what their makeup is, what their genre is, and what their mission is. So that's the idea of reaching out and not reinventing the wheel.
That's an excellent point, though. Like, do you keep a narrow scope that is just, we want this committee to help us research whether we should join a community power group? Or do you want it to be a more global? Should we do more solar in town? Should we do solar for Swayze School? Like, if it becomes a bigger thing, it could be a different committee. So I think that's an excellent point.
Exactly, so
Yeah.
you need to define that.
Yep.
And you probably need to present that to the residents to determine whether that is what they would like to have.
Yep.
So a public meeting.
Well,
I'm
we
not
can
sure
cross
that-
that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's the precedent behind the formation of committees, or is it?
It is not. I mean,
Having
we're
a
the,
public meeting to decide whether we want to form a committee.
so part of what I find super interesting and also sometimes frustrating, right, is that Rebecca, you just said we're just learning about this now, and what's also happening is that we're just learning about it now too because of quorum rules. We can't talk about anything collectively that's not in a forum like this. So, like, talk about the truest sense of democracy, right? Like, we're the elected representatives for the town, and we have to have these public conversations where we are in real time learning about something on the fly, just like you. So it is part of like the cool part of the process, but I think that is part of the process that we're trying to figure out too. We're trying to learn about it just like you.
And there may be questions that you all haven't even thought of, or this group hasn't even thought of to raise.
Probably always a situation like that,
Always.
yeah.
Well, and that's why I think, usually if you're gonna form a committee, I think putting it out there to the community and then waiting to see what we get for a response is kind of.
I'd be curious
The
to
community
read-
has been awesome in stepping up to
Yeah,
fill roles.
I'd be
like
really
this.
curious to read like maybe the mission vision of some of the local energy groups. I know Exeter has a group with some, some expertise on it, because we might be able to kind of steal instead of recreating the wheel. But it sounds like if we had a couple bullet points, whether it's like community education, looking into this power coalition, thinking about advancements in town that could include composting or additional clean energy. You probably need to kind of restrain it a bit, but I think that there's probably gonna be several bullet points from my feeling of what you're looking for, and what other
Yeah,
towns
I
do.
mean,
It's
I
not a
think-
single narrow focus, it's
Yeah.
sort of meant to be a little bit wider, but it needs some guardrails on it.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, I think if you look at the Communication Committee or if you look at the Economic Development Committee, I think you put good people on the committee and then you ask them, I mean, we have,
Good
I
purpose.
do,
It's a good
obviously,
Yeah.
have listed out things here.
I mean, I don't know if that would be the,
Well, the,
Mission
under
statement or whatever it is.
under issues, of course, some of the issues, if you were there Monday night, you would have heard about, or if you saw it on Zoom, are sort of staring us right in the face in terms of the cost of electricity, first of all, and this coalition and looking into that, so, yeah, I mean, look, everyone's gonna have an opinion about what a priority is. I don't think, though, that we have a town meeting to determine whether we can stand up a committee. I understand the idea of going out, and fully expected we would go out and ask for people who would be willing to participate in one way or the other, whether they're on the committee or whether they're
So
not.
just to bring this back a little bit, that was just a suggestion from a member in the audience.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry
We
about
we don't
that.
have to do it, it's just a suggestion, and
Right.
that's
Okay.
what we're here for, is to listen to suggestions.
But for the town, maybe can we, with your permission, put in all of, of course, all this is accessible to the town, but all of the issues and then the purpose statement into the minutes so that everyone can
Yeah.
just.
Yeah, but this isn't in stone, this is just
Yeah.
what
Well,
he's.
no, it's a proposal.
But just for folks to be able to
this would
consume.
be part of the public
This will be the
Yeah.
minutes anyway, right? This
It's
is
it's a 4-minute thing, so if
Is the
Yeah.
whole
our
document.
Yeah,
narrator,
the document is public document now.
No, but it's not, unless it goes into the minutes.
Well, it's public document, which can be requested in a direct to know, but it wouldn't automatically be
Oh, right, I
included
thought this
in.
was
So
attached.
that's what, I'm just saying the issues and the purpose statement.
Bob, if you wanna
I
read
have
the
this in
purpose
my
and
last email.
Okay.
issues.
So the Energy Environmental Advisory Committee proposal from Russ is to advise the town of Brentwood Select Board and other committees and boards on the best practices related to energy and the environment. Membership, the proposal is 7 residents interested in energy and environmental issues, a non-voting member of the Select Board, and 2 or 3 alternatives, as Russ had read out earlier. Issues are, these are the bullets, the burden of high electricity rates on residents, businesses, and town offices, and the need to seek potential remedies. Community power rules, see background info below. Approved by the Hampshire Public Utilities Commission. Will allow cities and towns to save money and prioritize renewable energy. Towns joining the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire, which we discussed earlier. Potential for voluntary composting program to reduce household waste and potentially provide cost savings to the town. Town solar array issues in education, which is just why I think Rob would be awesome. Residents looking for more information related to saving money, reducing environmental impact, and reducing electricity usage and waste. So those are the bullet points on the issues.
Andy,
Yeah, I know, we're discussing up here. You guys good now?
Yeah,
That's
I think
everything.
that's sort of a basic draft of an early mission.
Bob in the back?
Yeah, thank you, Bob Stevens, 60 Northrop Drive. I'm also the chair of the Conservation Commission. I haven't heard anything about this to now, and it's an interesting discussion. I have a lot, my head is spinning with all the issues associated with this, and I would like to encourage us, as some of you have discussed already, to keep the focus of this laser sharp and to clearly articulate the mission or purpose of this before it gets voted on to form the committee. I've also noticed a propensity in some town government, and I go to a lot of town government meetings for work, of voting on issues immediately when they were brought before them instead of taking the time to consider them and look for public opinion. If there was a public hearing, and specific to this matter, and I'm not saying there should or shouldn't be, but I would view it as a chance for folks to just present input and discuss it. Now, this forum is one place to do that as well. With regard to mission creep or getting off track, I can tell you that I've been with the Conservation Commission for about 3 years now, and several of the things that have been discussed here as being part of the mission for this potential newly formed subcommittee have been discussed at the Conservation Commission in those 3 years. And I'm just wondering, was the Conservation Commission out of bounds when we discussed it then, or is this committee out of bounds in discussing those things now? In other words, if we're going to have this committee take on composting, for instance, or waste, this is an issue that the Conservation Commission has discussed in the past. So I think there need to be clear boundaries as to what the different entities in our town government are doing. That's just one example. There are others as well. For instance, the solar array, if I understand correctly, was Conservation Commission endeavor. So if this new subcommittee is planning to take on all of that, I think there needs to be an even more and broader discussion as to whether that's appropriate or not.
Thank you. And like we talked about before, this is the first time we're talking about it, so it's not like we left Concon out of anything.
No, but it does need to be discussed, and I just think fully vetted before it's voted on.
Sir?
James Goodwin, South Road. You know, I work hard, I'm lucky to even be here tonight. Anyways, all I see from an outside observer, and I call it like it is Russ comes in, at some picnic, he dreamed up this plan with this group, with all his friends. I see Liz wants her daughter in on this thing, and I see a sales rep. All I see is some kind of inside coercion to steer us taxpayers into something we think we're getting a big deal, but we're not getting a big deal. I live on South Road, I paid $10,000 for a 1,500 square foot box on 2 acres. You guys are soaking me, soaking me. The budget's already going up with the school budget because, oh, they did a great thing with the school budget. They had the default budget higher than the regular budget. So when we voted on it, if we voted no, we voted higher, okay? So we're already our taxes are already going up this fall, okay, because of the school. And now you guys, I appreciate you trying to save money, but all I see is inside jobs and inside friend work here, and I'm not liking it.
Thank you. One more. Oh, Yes, Jim.
Since we're on the topic of nepotism.
We're on the topic of this. Does it
No,
obtain to
well,
this? I'll get back to you if you want to talk about something else.
Okay.
Do we have any other questions about the?
Jim, you showed Route 125 in Brentwood. And I just want to voice my backing the gentleman back there that I think this shouldn't be rushed. It should be something that is brought before the town and to have a lot more discussion on it, because I do fear that it'll be a wider scope and that there are other entities already in place that could handle this.
Thank you.
So you got one more.
One last question.
Yes.
Robin Wrighton, Middle Road, Brentwood newsletter representative. Be happy to partner with you, Russ, the board, to get the word out to the town.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
All right. So, if you want to,
I mean, we talked about this at our last meeting where you brought it up, like, can we talk about this at the next meeting? We were all generally in favor. I'm definitely generally in favor. I think some of these are helpful comments. So it doesn't sound like we're ready to vote on anything, but I am completely in support of us forming a committee like this, especially after going to that information session and learning how much I don't know and how much our town needs to know. And so I think we can parse out some of these issues of what's conservation, what might need its own committee that's not conservation. But yeah, I think this is just the first steps of what I think is gonna be a really good committee.
Did that meeting at the library, did that get recorded?
Yep, it's right on the website. If you go to the library, it's right on the front page.
I didn't know if we could even put it onto, like, the town's.
Well, that's the idea. Karen and I were talking about that today, is to have on our town website the video, and then I've asked the three panelists for related links that they might have brought up during their presentation, so folks can have everything in one place, so we'll work on that.
I'd make a motion that we put that onto the town's website.
What, I'm sorry, what
Is the
video?
video presentation from the library on this environmental.
would just
stuff.
be the Zoom link from the
The
library.
Zoom link from the library to put it onto the website so
There's a
people can click on it.
one-page, there's the Zoom link, and then there's a one-page handout from Eversource, which is actually super helpful, that lists all the rebate programs, the financial assistance, the family income cutoffs for financial assistance. It's really helpful, so it probably should be those two things.
Yeah, if we could throw those onto the town website.
It's the community power rules thing that we're talking.
The community power rules, we could probably
I was just saying, is that part of
It's
that?
referenced, it's discussed in the video recording at some,
Briefly, yeah.
some
Yeah,
length, but
yeah.
not exhaustive detail, just kind of a suggestion that the town think about it for the future.
But that would be a good
It's a good starting point
resource
for the community
to look at it.
who want to learn more.
Robin, when is the next deadline for submission for?
September 15th.
The 15th, next week.
So we're meeting every week?
Yes.
We
Yes.
may have a brief meeting at the election next
4
week
o'clock.
in the basement at
Oh,
4.
yeah, right, okay.
But it falls on election day, so it's 2 days after that.
Well, I just thinking ahead, if we wanted to solicit, like we discussed, specific expertise or experts from the town, we'd probably want to get it in before the 15th.
We can
So
see
we
if
could
we
talk
feel
about-
ready.
We could talk about that.
Why
It
rush
might be
it?
rushed because you
Yeah,
don't
we
have
have time.
agenda items at next week's meeting.
Say that again.
Yeah.
I said that would be rushed because you don't have agenda items at next week's meeting. because
Yeah,
So
we
can
probably
you-
need to push it out
It'll put off to the next,
till November.
there's a November-December issue, which is in October, right?
Yep.
The deadline?
October 15th, right?
How long do you think it's gonna take you to put something together? I mean, if it's,
Sounds
if
like
it's
there's a lot
close
of
enough before,
discussion points.
before it goes to print, I can hold some space for you. If I have an idea of what it is that you wanna get out to the community,
Are you saying November, for the November issue?
No, for the October.
October.
I think that's gonna be tough.
Yeah, I don't think we're ready to push it,
Okay.
but thank you.
I think the soonest would probably be
concerned because
November.
There are people in town that are directly related in the business of composting and in the energy business that were not aware of this meeting tonight. So they're not aware that you're trying to form a committee, and so it would be advantageous for the people involved in this to put the news out to the community, because there are people in Brentwood who know these businesses.
Yep.
So,
I think we're just trying to figure out what the next step is, exactly.
Yep.
Education.
Jim?
Yeah, so why not just put a preliminary out there saying that this is our intent and come to the next meeting and get more involved?
Because I don't know if we're ready for the next meeting to
answer all these questions.
answer. We want to, obviously, there's a good amount of community input, so we want to make sure that we have our ducks in a row before we let them swim. You like that?
Good metaphor.
He doesn't even have a Jeep. I got a quack rack in my Jeep.
Russ?
Let me just ask, show of hands, who was at the briefing on last Monday at the library?
Or has watched it?
Okay. So if you had, or if you go back and you watch it, you'll understand that you know, the energy side of this, the core of this, is that we need help, we need advice going forward as to best practices. I get the sense from the comments I've heard so far, number one, there's a misunderstanding about how the process works. So the process works just the way it is, which we're talking through it. We'll come up with the best approach. And then the second thing is, it feels like there's something that's not being said in these comments.
Yeah.
Somebody, I get the sense that either one or all of you are upset about something specifically, and I can't believe it's the part about the, well, let me finish what I'm saying. I can't believe it's the part where we have electricity prices through the roof, and we're looking for help on what to do next. I can't believe that's the controversial part. So if there's something unspoken, why don't we just get that out, and then maybe we can all better understand what the
How you
conversation.
steered us into it, with a group that you handpicked, with her friend,
Nobody's
her
been
daughter,
picked.
some sales rep.
Yeah, nobody's been picked.
Yeah, you say that, but you picked it, and then you're gonna pretend
Nobody's
to
been
have us
picked.
vote
All
on
right,
it.
we don't need a back and forth.
Well, I'm just gonna say this then.
Come on, Russ.
Nobody's been picked. Citizens, this is how things work. Citizens
Now
have
you're informed.
concerns, they bring it forward, it's floated, we discuss it, we
And I
debate it.
just brought my concern
Okay.
forward, thank you.
We're moving on, unless you have something pertinent, Jim.
I just don't think there should be a rush to it, and I feel like there is, and I do.
I just said we were waiting to the,
Yeah, no,
I don't know how much slower I can get to that.
The reason that I'm here is because of before, I felt that there was a rush to get this through. I personally heard, you want to talk about the elephant in the room, I heard that there were people already selected to be on the committee or suggested. And I just think that it should be, you talk about this is how it works. Well, this is how it works. We are the citizens of Brentwood, and we want to know what's going on, and we want to have a say in it.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah,
Simple as that.
and
I don't think it's a bad general idea at all. Anything to save money, sure. I think the energy prices are ridiculous. Mine have personally doubled. I think it's insane, but I also think there should be fairness, and I think I think there's a lot of people in town that aren't aware of what's going on. Shame on them for not being more involved, but also I think there needs to be work done on that.
So just for clarity's sake, so a lot of you know I formed the Economic Development Committee close to a year ago, and a bit thanks to Ken Christensen for your support in doing that as well. When I did that, one of the mechanisms was I had several people come up to me and throw some different ideas at me, townspeople, hey, we should do this, hey, we should do that, what if we did that? And so having, just sitting down and having coffee, right? Or having a phone call with someone who's concerned about something. And that's where these ideas come from. You maintain contact with those people, and some of those, I did something similar when I was doing economic. Hey, this person has voiced interest in doing this and that. several of those people who were on my initial list either didn't fill in those qualifications that we were specifically looking for, weren't really laser focused, like we have been talking, like Bob was talking about how important it is to be laser focused. Well, several of those initial people fell off of my initial list. It was mostly a list kind of like, well, you all aren't seeing it, but we're just looking at a list of people and kind of their
Who've expressed interest.
summarized CV, and they've expressed an interest, right? They probably had a conversation, I don't know, I haven't talked to you about it, probably had a conversation with you about it on the side, and hey, I'm interested in this. I want to participate in the town and serve the town in this capacity. Some of them will be great, and some of them won't fit what we're looking for.
And this came, what was the percentage increase? Was it
It's
112%? Yeah, 122%?
It's 112.
112%?
The delivery charge went, the rate itself for the supply went from like 10 cents to 23 cents.
And John, just to clarify, because I know you were talking to me about that, I don't think it's a bad idea, right? But I do think that the town should have a better understanding of what's going on, and it should be, like Bob said, it should be put out there to the town to try and get, because there could be people that we don't even know of that this is right in their wheelhouse.
It will be.
So, yeah.
100%.
And this is how you get a discussion
We
about
just
it,
don't have
sure.
mechanisms other than this. Like, we're not allowed to talk outside of this room.
Right, I get that.
And I think I heard the Conservation Commission offer that they're gonna be the steering of this.
I think like composting, I know with some of the farmlands and stuff, that might be something.
Maybe that goes under conservation, like,
that
we'll
might
figure
go
out.
under conservation, so I didn't even look at that until that was here, so.
I was just trying to clarify the process, that was.
All right, we need to move on, so Bob,
Just to clarify, and that sounds like I have more to clarify than I thought. There's a lot of words being spoken on my behalf, but
You're getting thrown into it too, it's like Rob doesn't want to.
I want to also go on the record as saying that I'm not against this. I'm especially if we're going to narrow it down to buying power for, or saving money for town residents on energy. It's narrowing it to that limited focus that is important, though if it's expanded beyond there, the details matter a lot. So the details matter a lot. So, and I think it needs to be clearly composed, clearly articulated, and something that, can be held accountable. Because this is government we're talking about here. It's not, there's no other way to hold anything accountable without writing it down very carefully.
Phil Dunham, 9 Block Drive. Russ mentioned getting something off our chest now. If we have a community meeting, I'll get 7 other points off my chest at that point. But I guess my initial question is, why? I'm always curious about why are we doing this to begin with? Because 19 months ago, this country was energy independent. And our electric bill at our house was 1/3 of what it is today. What is it that happened when on January 21, 2021, a new administration took over? What is it that happened? What did they do that might have possibly impacted this? So I would hope that any committee that is set up starts doing what our brilliant vice president suggested, and that is to do some root cause analysis as to exactly how all of this happened to begin with. So rather than jump to a solution, let's back up a little bit and start looking at the causes. More later, Phil
It
Nicoletta.
was discussed at the meeting last week.
Yes, Jim.
I heard you say that a couple of people that had signed up were taken off because they didn't meet the criteria. What is the criteria if we haven't really defined where we're headed yet?
This was the Economic Development
It
Committee.
was the previous committee, I was giving an example
Who
of
were the other 5? I heard 5 names. Who were the other 5 names?
I think we're talking about 2 different things right now. I was talking about economic development, and I was giving I was laying out the process.
He was talking about how the economic development committee got established, that they looked for certain
Skill set.
sets, and then some people that applied didn't meet the skill sets that we needed, so they were passed over. Alright,
Shannon, wait.
Alright.
I have one more thing for public session.
hold on. On the,
Feel good?
agenda is review bids for gas and oil and diesel. We only received one proposal from Hartman, so we're gonna do some work on that to see if we can get some other information before we make a decision on that.
There it goes.
The other, I was gonna ask Bob Stevens about the bridge update, did you want to do that too?
Sure, I have, change orders.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bob, are you available to talk about the bridge?
Sure,
follow up from our site
I'm
walk.
not prepared, but I'm available.
That's close enough.
Well, you're here, and we need to talk about the bridge since they're finishing it up, and we just signed something today about it, so.
Should I sit right here?
Sure.
Okay. So, the bridge is nearly done. It's open again to traffic, at least in one direction. As of Friday, it may have opened in both directions.
There's a site expert that can talk about that.
It's open in both directions.
Yeah, well, it was open for the weekend, what, does it say today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing left is the big machine.
Yeah, so we have, normally we go through a closeout process on a project where there's a formal procedure by which the contractor notifies us that they've reached certain milestones. The milestone that we're looking at right now is called substantial completion, and it's generally defined in contract law as being the point where the project is usable for the intended purpose. We've achieved that, but we need to be notified by the contractor to that effect because his notification of us establishes certain protocols and schedules.
I think the reason the machine is still there is because the bench is not there yet.
Could be.
Yeah, and I think he probably has to pick it up and drop it over the chain link fence, which is there now.
Carol really wants that bench.
No, I don't. I absolutely do not. There is no way.
She's
in
promised to
God's
deliver
creation,
coffee to
I
me
wanna
every
sit
time I
over
wanna
there
sit on the bench.
And look at what I'm gonna be looking at that is still in that river.
Yeah.
All that, I can't believe that the Exeter people drink the water out of that river. With all of that rusty stuff that's gonna be going in there.
She's talking about the remnants of the dam, right? So, which is privately owned by others.
It's in Fremont.
Yes, well, the dam itself, I think, is in Brentwood, but,
2 feet.
yeah.
2 feet.
So substantial completion, and then we go through the rest of the project closeout will be punch list items, little things that we ask them to square away before they're paid. And that process, I think, is gonna go right into October because they have to establish grass.
The grass is coming up
Yeah,
already.
awesome.
Bob, can you give us an update on that retaining wall that we had done a site walk of and what the decision was on that?
They chinked it, right?
Yes, so the wall has been repaired. The concern was that the repair wouldn't be as good as some other options. And there's no doubt about it that the wall could be replaced or otherwise modified. But you know, as engineers, our job is to deal with the situation that we're in and solve the problem that we have before us for the money that we have to spend. And at the time we were in COVID, the town was concerned about, I mean, as a department head, I got notified last week that I'm a department head as a Concom chair. So, I mean, we were asked to cut our budgets and do all kinds of things. So we're looking at ways to save the town money. And we decided to nurse this bridge along for another 25 or 30 years. And that meant we tried to make that wall serviceable for that length of time. It's gonna require maintenance and maybe even some repair during that time. But right now, it is what we expected it to be, and that is, it's stable, it's been chinked into place, which means they placed smaller rocks between the larger ones.
So they did decide that that was safe
They
and
stuffed the
effective.
boulder into and it looks fine.
And it came in on the expected budget to do that? Okay, perfect, thank
Except,
you.
yep, there was a small item of crack repair that was more than we expected, but it's,
it's a small amount of money.
Thank you.
I have a question.
I was like,
For the question of engineer that we hired.
Uh-oh.
You're on the conservation.
What's the weight limit on the bridge?
It's 15 tons, I think, right now.
Is that the same it was before, or is that new?
It's the same as before.
Okay.
You gotta remember though, you're talking to an engineer, so there's a weight limit and there's a posted weight limit. And the posted weight limit is 10 tons. Whether the bridge can handle a lot more than that is.
That was my question.
Isn't-
The posted is 10.
The posted is 10,
Okay.
and
Thanks.
that has not been updated or upgraded.
And the DOT does that, correct?
The DOT handles that, yep. So when this is done, we'll notify the DOT that things have changed, they'll come out and give it an inspection. I doubt they'll update that or upgrade it because there's really no reason to. And all it's gonna do is increase heavy traffic on the road, and that's bad for pavements and stuff, even if it's not, even if the bridge can handle it. And it's a small side street in Brentwood, so.
That needs to be paved.
Yeah.
well, we actually
It will. We held on it.
We deferred paving it this year because we don't know what's going on with that development. So, that's why it was deferred paving.
I know.
The bus is off the rails. Hold public comment until you're called upon.
Do you want the change order amounts that were,
Yes.
Yeah, what do you got for a change order?
so it was, do you want to go with?
I don't have it, so if you have it there.
So the linear feet for the concrete from WP Davis was $9,025 over and above the lump sum that was included in the contract. And through SA Engineering, it was an additional $9,600 for construction engineering to administration over the last 3 weeks of construction. And we have enough in the capital reserve to cover those two costs there.
Did we discuss if we could use the DOT aid instead of the capital reserve to cover this?
We can, so I have reached out to DRA, I'm waiting to confirm what the actual bridge aid amount will be. Once they confirm that, then we'll need to post a public hearing to receive those two sources of revenue that are unanticipated.
What's the total?
So that includes that 100,000 extra grants that was unanticipated?
Yes, so we'll have that 100, I think it's 82 for bridge aid,
Okay.
additionally that we're expecting, but I
Nice.
wanted to confirm that from DRA before we.
Great.
Before we spend that,
Posted
we
it.
have to
Yeah,
have a
accept
public
it.
meeting to accept it.
Perfect. I don't think anybody's gonna turn down $180,000 of money from
So
this
So the
big.
change orders total 18,625.
I'll take a motion to expend another 18,625 out of the capital reserve for bridge maintenance.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anything else you need from us, sir?
No, is there anything else you need from me?
Thank you.
Appreciate it, thanks, Bob.
Thank you all.
When would you like to have a department head meeting to kick off budget season?
Our next
The
meeting
20th?
back from elections?
Yeah,
The 20th or the 27th?
20th? 20th.
The 20th?
20th. 20th, we'll talk about budgets.
That should be a fun day.
Update from the Communication Subcommittee?
It's dark out.
Come on down.
Hello.
Stephanie Lewandon, Mike Lane.
Can you just use your outside voice, so?
Oh, sorry. I left 2 pages for you. One is a chart that Steve Dawson and Karen put together, and it when we first met, talking about mission statements and whatnot, we had to figure out what all the town entities were. So we built that so that we actually could understand who we needed to talk to. So I don't think we need approval, but I just wanted you guys to see it to make sure. I think we're gonna start to pull from it to do other charts and educate and whatever it is that we need. It was a really good process. I think we learned a lot when we did that.
Yeah, it's really nice looking.
Yeah, very helpful.
And then I also left a phase plan for our Facebook page launch. We decided that if we waited for perfection, this isn't gonna happen, so we're diving in. Daphne is willing and completely ready to be our guinea pig and the pilot user. She's the heaviest, has the heaviest need for Facebook posting. So we're looking at this month, getting it up and running and making announcements on the website with the newsletter and also on the private Facebook pages. And I don't know, we're kind of thinking that once we sit and set it up, there's no, it's not like a website where you can set up an example and then have people approve it and post it. I think once you go live, it's live. So I'm thinking we're talking about 2 dates with Daphne to coordinate with her to make sure she's ready. And then we're thinking if we can put it together, we can kind of soft launch. You guys can take a look if you feel like you need to, just to make sure it's got what we need on it. And then we can move forward and do the real launch.
And you guys had the option to turn off comments, is that what you guys?
Yeah, we're definitely doing that.
Okay.
Yeah, at least for the beginning.
Why? Trust me, turn off comments.
It'll be public. We're gonna try to link other town Facebook pages to this Facebook page once we know what they are, because it's a little hard to discern what they are. That's another point we're gonna try to deal with a little later on.
Well, I know there's like, for example, I know the police department has 2 Facebook pages, one they use and one that they used to use because they had turnover and they forgot the password.
Yeah, it's a little cleanup is required.
Yeah.
So,
Well, unfortunately, I've had this issue that once the admin is gone and you don't have contact with the admin anymore, you can't get rid of it.
Yeah.
oh, it's there forever.
I think you have to like do something active to withdraw it. Yeah.
We're gonna make a generic admin to get it started,
Let's-
so that,
Let's talk with you and me and Karen offline
Yeah.
about password, best practices for password management.
okay,
Well-
sounds good.
The way a page works is it works off your user account. So you need to associate the page with the user account. So like the Sandown Police Department, I'm the only admin, but it's linked off of my Facebook user account. So I could give other Facebook users access to post, but you have to have a Facebook account to begin with.
Yeah, we're gonna try to make a generic account, I already tried it, called Town Clerk, it goes through, and then it can be passed on from Daphne to the next town
Yeah.
clerk.
That's kind of,
But
this is kind of
Daphne
what I was
doesn't
thinking.
need to be, because I'm hearing horror stories about getting off.
Town clerks are
Yeah.
elected, and so whoever controls the town clerk
Right.
user page will then,
So then it becomes
Classic.
a user, not
A
a
user,
page.
not a person.
yeah.
Well, no, it doesn't become a business, it becomes a user. It's more of a personal account and it acts differently.
Right, because now we have 2 Brentwood, New Hampshire police departments, but one is years old because nobody can get in
Sounds
there
like this
and
is why sort of getting it ready to go and making
Yeah,
sure
we
all
need
these
a little,
things
we
are.
need a little experimenting time and then make sure we've got our ducks in a row before they swim.
That's a good line.
You like that?
I do.
It's good.
Well, and this fall, with the elections coming up and all the, there's gonna be a lot of opportunity to be
Yeah,
posting from
and
the
we're-
town.
Yeah, and we're waiting till this first primary is over, cause I don't wanna interrupt
Yeah.
what Daphne's got going on,
Yeah.
it's probably too much, so.
Perfect.
And she's ready to work with us, we're just kind of making sure she's
So you
good.
need permission to use the town seal for that?
We already did that at a prior meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's done, yep.
Okay, do you have it, Karen?
That and it's
Yes, I
not
can.
copyrighted.
It's not, it's just, it was a courtesy permission.
Okay. I wasn't sure
Yep,
if we
you're
did
good.
that. So we're good? Do you guys want to officially see it and approve it, or do you just?
Well,
are you-
technically, if it's a
Personal account, right?
personal account, you
No,
can-
it'll be a town
right,
government.
but it's not gonna be a page, it's gonna, you could send invites to the select board to look at it before you,
Publicize it, just to make sure that we've
right.
got
So
everything.
do people have to request to be friends on it? Is that how
I
they-
don't
No.
know how we're doing it.
No, I think it's just a public follow it.
With the
So it's- so
invitation,
it's a
you can
public-
just send an invitation to us.
You know what, I don't know.
So if you like it, I think it has to be associated with an account. If
Yeah.
it's a friend, it's a personal account.
Right.
You know a lot about Facebook, eh?
Yeah, I know.
Well, what happened is
It's like, funny story.
people started tagging Sandown Police as checking in,
Oh.
and which created
It's a hotel.
a domain. And it wasn't accepted by anybody, so it was open to the public, that somebody could have clicked on it and claimed it as their business. And we would have lost control of Sandown Police, so
Oh, wow.
I ended up getting thrown into the fact that we need to take this over, and
Well, we better figure
That-
that out.
Yeah, we gotta make sure that's all worked out.
Facebook page, I don't know.
Maybe we should have a little chat with Andy offline about that, just to make sure we don't fall
Yeah,
into
because
any
otherwise
traps.
somebody else could.
well,
take
once
control
they
of
have
things.
it, it's fine. It's, when people like check in at the town offices, at some point it made
Oh, it
Sandown Police
created it.
Department
Because enough
as,
people had checked in? Oh, okay, I see, it kind of auto-created.
right,
Gotcha, okay.
Kind of like Mount Washington.
yeah,
Gotcha. Okay, so we're not gonna have that issue.
no,
Okay,
Why would
perfect.
they check in at the police department?
why not?
Just to let your friends know where you like to hang out, you know?
You have to
I'm
rate the
glad the
quality.
chief's not here, but I wouldn't be like, yo, I'm here.
I've seen
Thank you,
police
Steph.
departments
Just
on,
to let us know.
Thank you.
what's the restaurant one? When you rate service, I forget the.
Oh, Yelp?
or whatever?
Yelp reviews on police departments.
Oh, God.
Get out, really?
Yes.
That's awesome. They were really nice to me. They didn't tase me.
I just had legal for non-public.
Jim, I promised you a, just no public, no personal attacks and,
No, I'm asking though, I read and saw on a prior meeting that we hired Karen Clement's husband onto the payroll. And that is nepotism, and we do have rules about that. And I didn't hear any conversation or see any written in the meeting minutes where you dealt with that aspect. And I'm disturbed by it, that this isn't the way things run.
so, just to clarify, he's not on the payroll. His company was hired as the exterminator, just like, any of the other contracting services we have, and we have a 1-year contract at a reduced rate than we were paying to try his services.
And there was full disclosure at that meeting by Karen that it was her husband's company.
Well, that's disclosure, I get that, but who's paying them?
The town would pay him
The
as a
town's paying,
contractor,
so that's
but
a
not
conflict of interest.
no. Nepotism is when you hire an employee.
He's a contractor, so it's.
He gave us a cheaper rate than what we were
So
currently
we can
paying.
hire contractors that are related to the people on boards or
Well, he gave a lower proposal. I would say that when we're looking for proposals going forward from vendors on exterminators, since he's running an extermination company, then we would probably say we need to do a bid, but we didn't have that in process at that time, so he's cheaper than the other contractors that we were paying that we had services with. So
And how much cheaper was it?
$100 some odd dollars
A service.
for a service. So it adds up over time, so I think when we go forward, yeah, it would have to be probably a sealed bid system with that, and then Karen would probably just, Tamara would put it forward to us. Here's the bids that we got, and then there wouldn't be any conflict of interest. It's kind of like, I know, you know, when my son back, I don't know, how many years ago was that?
Bought the lawnmowers.
10, when he bought the lawnmower. They were trying to get rid of the lawnmowers because we hired a lawnmowing company to do the lawnmowers, and Wayne had lawnmowers over there. My son wanted to buy one. I said, I'm out of this one. I'm removing myself from the discussion. I want nothing to do with this. And Ken brought it forward, had the discussion, and then they ended up selling it because he was the one that made the bid for the lawnmower, and he had the best bid. But I recused myself from the entire conversation. So I think Karen would probably do something similar if that comes up again, when it comes to bid time. But we are gonna have to probably put it out to bid, just like we do for the lawn mowing service.
And Karen's not a voting member.
And she's
of
not a
the
voting
select board.
member, but she'll just, you know, just not have any question of impropriety. I think we can have Tamara go forward. That would be my recommendation. But we won't see that until probably, what, next year?
It's a 1-year contract.
Yeah.
Okay, should we go to non-public?
Any other public questions? Hearing none, I'm gonna take a motion to go into non-public about legal matters.
Motion to go non-public?
Is it personnel and legal or just?
We already did personnel.
Okay, so just legal.
Do
Second.
I have a motion?
Oh, motion
Do I have
or
a
second? Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Seconded it? Yes.
I like that. This is nice.
Do you wanna get your stuff and we'll walk you out?